It all started on a Tuesday. Tuesdays were usually boring, but this Tuesday was different. This Tuesday, the donuts fought back. At the Donut Hole, the city's favorite bakery, something went horribly wrong. A fresh batch of glazed donuts suddenly grew little arms. Legs appeared on the same donuts and they started moving. Then they started marching. They marched right out the door and into the street. It was a total nightmare. A delicious, sugary nightmare. People screamed and ran away. Nobody wants to be chased by their breakfast. Tim was just trying to get a comic book. He was just a regular kid, the kind you'd miss in a crowd. He saw the army of donuts and froze. He couldn't believe his eyes. A sprinkle-covered donut tried to trip an old lady. Tim pointed his finger without even thinking. A weird tingle jumped in his fingertip, but way, way stronger. And then the weirdest thing happened. The donut just stopped. It turned back into a normal, boring, non-walking donut. Tim stared at his finger. He did it again, pointing at a chocolate-frosted one-zap. The donut froze mid-climb and fell to the ground with a soft plop, and pure amazement. He could turn things back to normal. He pointed at a whole row of marching crawlers. A little invisible wave of energy seemed to shoot from his finger. One by one, they all stopped their tiny, angry march. He wasn't just Tim anymore. He was the guy who could stop marching donuts. The city was in chaos, but for the first time, Tim felt like he could actually do something. He just had no idea what that something was supposed to be. Just when Tim thought things couldn't get any weirder, they did. A squirrel wearing a tiny acorn helmet scampered down a tree. It stopped right in front of Tim. It wasn't normal chittering. It sounded like actual words.
You're the one. The normalizer.
Tim just stood there with his mouth open.
I'm General Nutsy.
A pigeon landed next to the squirrel.
The name's Cooper.
General Nutsy explained the problem. A grumpy wizard in the sewers had gotten his spells mixed up. He tried to animate his laundry, but zapped the bakery instead. Now inanimate objects were coming to life. The donuts were just the beginning. The city needed Tim and his strange new power. Tim felt completely overwhelmed. A few minutes ago, his biggest problem was deciding which comic to buy. Now he's being recruited by a squirrel and a pigeon to fight a wizard. He tried to refuse, but Nutsy was persuasive. Only Tim could reverse the wizard's magic. Cooper warned the next thing to come alive might be the city's toilets. That was enough. Tim agreed. He, a squirrel, a pigeon. The most unlikely team ever. Nutsy sketched the plan on a discarded pizza box lid. The lair was deep in the sewers under the central square. The wizard was guarded by his biggest mistake yet. A 50-foot-tall gingerbread man. The old bakery sign. It stomped around downtown, guarding the sewer entrance. Tim had to get past a giant cookie monster to save the city. He took a deep breath. Time to see what the normalizer could really do. Getting to the central square was a challenge. Everything was going crazy. Mailboxes were running around, gobbling up letters. Park benches were bucking like wild horses. Tim had to use his power constantly. He would point, and a runaway trash can would stop in its tracks. He'd aim, and a group of dancing fire hydrants would freeze. With every zap of his power, he felt more confident. They were a pretty good team. They finally reached the square, and there it was. A gingerbread man the size of a 3-story building. It had gumdrop eyes that glowed with an angry red light. Its frosting smile was twisted into a mean-looking scowl. It took a huge step, and the ground shook. People were screaming and running in every direction. The gingerbread giant let out a roar that sounded like crumbling cookies. It swatted at a bus, sending it spinning across the street. Tim felt a knot of fear in his stomach. How was he supposed to stop something that big? General Nutsy had an idea. He said the wizard's magic was concentrated in the gingerbread man's gumdrop eyes. If Tim could normalize the eyes, the whole giant cookie would probably fall apart. The only problem was getting close enough. His eyes landed on the fire station across the street. He pointed his finger at the fire truck's giant ladder. Instead, he just thought really hard about it moving. To his surprise, the ladder started to extend on its own. He aimed the ladder toward the gingerbread man's head. The 3 of them jumped into the ladder's basket as it rose higher and higher, straight toward the face of the rampaging baked good. Riding the fire truck ladder was like being on the world's scariest roller coaster. The gingerbread giant saw them coming. It roared and tried to swat them out of the sky with its giant cookie hand. Tim had to steer the ladder, dodging the sugary fist. It was chaos. Tim focused, his heart pounding in his chest. He had one shot at this. He had to get close enough to the glowing red gumdrop eyes. The ladder rocked violently. Tim almost fell out. He was right there, face to face with the giant. He could smell the ginger and sugar. He ignored the roaring and the shaking and took a deep breath, just like he had practiced. He pointed both of his hands this time, channeling all of his energy.
He yelled, "Time to be a treat!"
A huge wave of invisible energy shot from his hands and slammed right into the gingerbread man's face. For a second, nothing happened. Then, the red glow in the gumdrop eyes flickered and died out. The giant's angry scowl softened. Its huge body started to crumble. Not into dust, but into thousands and thousands of regular-sized gingerbread cookies. They rained down on the city square. A cookie shower. People stopped screaming and started looking up in amazement. Kids ran out and started grabbing the cookies from the air. The giant monster was gone, replaced by a massive, citywide snack time. Tim watched from the ladder as the city below started to cheer. They had done it. Tim had saved the day in the weirdest, most unexpected way possible. He didn't defeat the monster, he turned it into dessert. Down in the sewers, the grumpy wizard, seeing his greatest creation crumble into snacks, decided magic was too much trouble and went back to just washing his socks. Tim lowered the ladder, feeling like a true hero. He was still just a regular kid with a red hoodie. But now he had two very strange friends and a superpower that could turn any disaster into something sweet. As people cheered his name, Tim knew one thing for sure. Tuesdays would never be boring again. End of story.